Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how are you this week?
I am tired. I have just flown all around the world to come to you tonight.
Well, we are attempting, and I use that word very, very carefully, we are attempting to finish our multi-part episode of the Adventures by Disney in New Zealand experience that you were on. The last couple times we've gone through here, we've gotten all the way past day 6, so we are entering day 7 of this journey. You were there for a very long time, 3 weeks essentially on your end after tacking days on before and after. So pick us up where we left off. We left off at day 6 and entering day 7.
And day 7, it was time to move again. So we packed up and we boarded the Transalpine train.
Huh.
It was nice to have another mode of transportation. By doing that, we were able to stretch a bit more. We played card games and did word search puzzles, and you could walk around, head to the dining car, the little snack bar. So it's nice not to be on a motor coach for a couple hours and to see all of that scenery. So the train was a great way to get there.
Cool.
When we got off the train, our driver met us again. We hopped on, and of course, there were just little snacks in the snack car. So we headed off to lunch and a brewery tour. Delicious food. You will never go hungry on an adventure by Disney.
Yeah, they make sure
3 meals a day, snacks served in between. I don't think, the same way I said they don't like you to go more than 90 minutes in transportation, they don't like you to go more than 2 hours without food. So there will be food continually served.
Nice. So you hit a brewery tour here too, which is
hit
cool.
a brewery, and again, we're in South Island now. We had started in North Island, flown last week when we talked about it to South Island. We covered a lot of distance. It's kind of like starting in Maine and making your way to Florida. So we're trying to get it all in, see it all. We keep heading south. We stop in the quaint little town of Hokitika, which is a beach town. So it was nice to get to the beach.
Yeah.
And they are known for their massive driftwood. And I will say, and I don't want to get my driver in trouble, but I'll say it anyhow. He made a wrong turn getting to the beach. He turned 2 blocks too soon. And when we got to the end of the road, I was in the front of the bus, and it was like, holy driftwood. I have never in my life seen the quantity of driftwood. The area we were in was not an area that people tend to, set up chairs and actually beach.
Right.
So apparently they gather driftwood in one area. They have so much driftwood that they are known for the Hokitika sign on the beach, which is all made out of driftwood. And when I say it's all made out of it, they stand it up, they prop it, they make it look great. Sometimes a storm comes along and they need to rebuild. So this is not, this heavy art piece, but it is what they're known for. I, of course, have my picture there.
Nice.
That was the spot where we received our pin of the day. We had about an hour and a half to tour Hokitika. There were some great gift shops. There was a glass gallery. You could just walk the beach. There were some benches along the beach if you just wanted to sit and relax and take it in. It's funny on a longer tour like this, again, this is day 7, you really start to see the activity level change in the people and therefore in the offerings from Disney.
Got it.
Back onto our motor coach and arrive in Franz Josef, our home for the next 2 nights. And I want to set the scene for the town of Franz Josef for you, because again, we started in Auckland, this big modern city. I want you all to think about the smallest town you've ever been to. Cut it in half and cut it in half again and maybe even again and again. Franz Josef, population 530 in the packed season.
Wow.
It is a little bit like that old Western you would see. We were in this hotel that was in the middle of the woods, and it was a great resort. They had spa services. They had fireplaces you could sit by, a great restaurant. So it's not like we were in this little nothing, but you could walk out the driveway, which was smaller than my own driveway at home for this resort. Um, and you could walk up the street and then you could walk back down the street. And now you've seen all Franz Josef has to offer.
Interesting.
So we arrived at night. We all obviously headed to our rooms. Our bags were magically delivered. We then met in the dining room for a big group dinner and talked about our next day, which was a glacier hike.
Oh, boy.
Lots of fun. Again, we boarded our bus, drove 3 feet to the stand where we picked up our certified guides to take us on our glacier hike. They were phenomenal. Because we had certified guides with us, we don't have to stay on the tourist trail. So part of our hike was through the woods.
Very cool.
We learned about what we can eat in the woods. We got to try different berries, pieces of bark, all types of things. It was a great time.
That
and then
sounds
we
awesome.
made it up to the glacier. So a great sight to see. I know, some people say to me, well, I've been to a glacier in Alaska. Do I have to go again? Well, that's the thing about Adventures by Disney. You don't have to do anything, but there are lots of opportunities. It was a fun place to be. We headed back into that one road town, had a group lunch, wonderful little restaurant right there on the corner. You could sit inside, outside. They did have fire pits going because it was a little bit colder. Some great local beer made. I guess when you're in a town of 530 people, you do some things on your own.
Sure.
And we did have an afternoon on our own. That's a great day for spa appointments. We had people who went quadding up off the glacier. We did have several that tried to take the helicopter up to the glacier. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate. They were rescheduled a couple of times and then ultimately canceled. There is great soaking tubs in one of these little stores that we were just talking about. There's a whole soaking tub business there. Some people honestly used it as a afternoon to sleep, read a book, really kind of relax and recharge because, as you said, we've been going.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You go through all of that. I have to imagine the spa and a nap would be on some people's agenda
Perfect.
at that point. So that takes you through day 8, essentially.
Day 9, it's time to get up, have our bags ready, and while we're at breakfast, our bags are magically collected and put onto the motor coach. And we are making our final drive to our last hotel in Queenstown. And again, it's a bit of a drive. So we make a stop at Lake Wanaka. So many great water sources all over New Zealand. We did a lot with lakes and waters and got to see some unique things. Lunch was on your own in Lake Wanaka. Some people just wandered. I took a group with me. I'll give a shout out to the people over at Paddle and Pint. They were awesome.
Now, I'm assuming Paddle and Pint is paddle boards and beer is what I'm assuming.
It
what
is.
it's up. See, you're the second half of this tour. You are really speaking my language. I just have to put that out there. But go ahead.
We covered a good number of places with some great beer.
There you go. There you
go. They did great family-style charcuterie boards, and then we had some awesome lunch. Again, lamb is a big thing there, as is a lot of seafood, but it was day 9. Some people were pretty done with it. They also have awesome burgers. Some homemade ice cream just down the street at one of the stores in Lake Wanaka. Little bit of shopping. Again, we've talked about the sheep shearing. You could get some great sweaters there. A little bit of holiday gift shopping for several on my tour.
Sure.
And then we finally make it to our last home at the St. Moritz. It is high up on the hill looking down onto another lake. So again, lots of water, but beautiful views at this hotel. Again, one of the things I get asked a lot is Adventures by Disney seems really expensive.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. It's not cheap. However, it includes a lot and the hotels are amazing. They're almost all 5 stars, a couple of 4 stars where they can't necessarily get a 5-star. And I say to people very honestly, I don't need a 4 or 5-star hotel. I do, sometimes when I'm planning a trip on my own, if I'm visiting family somewhere, I'm not spending for that, quite frankly. I'm going to stay at a clean but lesser brand, lesser stars. But there's something to be said about these places. Part of it is their location. You go find me a 2.5, 3-star place that is right in the height of things.
Yeah.
You don't.
No, it's not happening.
All of our hotels were in the hearts of the city. You could walk anywhere. I will say the St. Moritz, it was very easy to walk down into town. We were 1 block off of the main town strip, but it was 1 block that getting into town was all downhill. So getting
it's coming
back
home. Yeah, it's not downhill both ways.
uphill.
Right. Yeah.
But good news, New Zealand does have Uber.
Nice.
So
okay.
Walk into town, Uber back. Don't worry about it. We settled in for the night and got ready for our big day the next day. So it is now day 10. We know time is coming to an end. This is our second to last full day, where we head to a Dart River speedboat tour.
That's cool.
And if you're wondering what it's all about, it is way more than I thought it would be, but the most fun. So we did divide our group. We couldn't fit on one speedboat. We opted to let people kind of think about where they wanted to be, if they wanted to be on the calmer boat or on the very active boat.
Right, right.
And the difference was, if you've ever done a river speedboat, they are like major goofs if they can be. They love to do 360s in the boat and send all the water splashing around. They can travel at very high speeds. Kudos to these drivers. They are going up an active river that was not really in a high tide situation. Water levels were low. There were parts of the riverbed that were not places you could travel. And he said, every morning before we take our first tour out, we go out on the boat and we see which way we can go today, because it is a live river. They are moving and they are going different routes, different days, depending how the water is or isn't flowing.
What a job. What a job. And then there are like 2 schools of thought too. Like, cause there's some people that are like, that sounds awesome. And then there are some other people that are like, that would make me sick immediately. So that's
me. I'm the latter.
Yeah.
But I will say, there are some things, and goes back to that taking you outside of your comfort zone. I did send some pictures home a couple of times, and I got back, "Who are you? What have you done with my mother?" I'm never going back, most likely.
Right.
Take some Dramamine and have a good time. It is a blast. You suit up like you're going snowmobiling, because with that high speed, with the wind and everything, it does get cold.
Sure.
So we head out on this boat. We do take a couple of stops along the way. He's looking at the river, where he's talking to us about the birds we're seeing, maybe fish we're seeing, what's along the riverbank. We're learning about the area we're in. Probably our third stop, we actually got out of the boats and we were able to kind of walk along we'll call it a beach. We were able to stick our hand in the absolutely ice cold water. I would not have wanted to be in that water. The spot where we stopped is also not an Adventure by Disney tour, but another tour run by the same company. They do a kayak tour into the caves.
Cool.
And so they bring the people up there, they get them in the kayaks, and off they go. Our guides were phenomenal. We were so interested in the caves that on our way back, they did take our boats into the cave.
Nice.
And again, it reminded me a little bit of my time in Portugal. So I think the more you travel the world, the more you can make these connections and come up with just great, great memories.
Yeah.
This town that the riverboat was in, it was hopping. It probably had, 1.5 times the number of people living in it as Franz Joseph.
Okay.
able to walk across the very busy highway of one lane in each direction and one car about every 7 minutes.
Nice.
To our lunch spot, indoor and outdoor dining. And again, it's something that is probably a big difference between Jeff and I with where he lives. I can't tell you the last time that I actually got to sit outside at home and eat out in the fresh air and kind of enjoy, whether it's my lunch or my dinner. But here we sat outside for another meal, got to enjoy the people you're with, the place that you are. You can see a little glimpse of the river. And then depending how quickly you did or didn't eat, you could shop in their store, which was hysterical. I know people that have a walk-in closet that's bigger than their main store there. And then there were a couple of cute little kitschy shops that you could go to.
Sure.
Before we headed back on the motor coach and headed back to our hotel. They were able to drop people who wanted to stay downtown and not have to do that hill in one direction. There are so many amazing places to eat down there. So you had the night on your own. Again, some people opted to eat in the hotel, relax there. Others wanted to tour. One of the things I mentioned earlier about not going hungry, with Adventures by Disney, there's always a snack box. And I love the way that they do their snack boxes because there's kind of two halves to it. The one side is all the snacks from the country you're in. The chips, the candies, everything that is the local thing. Some are U.S. equivalents. Some are things you've never seen before. And then in case you're a picky child, the right side is all the U.S. chips and things. So a lot of people, myself included, wanted to be dropped in town at the supermarket. I know that sounds like a strange way to spend part of your vacation. But I was on the hunt for the Whitaker chocolate and the chocolate chip cookies we had. Those were many of my souvenirs that I brought home for people. And then out to dinner. So winding down, getting ready for our last big day as a group.
No, I mean, I think some of these on your own times, I know that they are not necessarily as glamorous in the description of zip lining and things like that. But some of the on your own stuff for me, when you're in a place that you've never been before, it's a way to experience that location in such an organic and honest way. So I don't discount these on your own times. I think that they're really, really cool.
They are, and everybody spends them differently. As I said, some people will relax at the hotel because they want that time to read the book or hop in the hot tub.
Sure.
Others want to stroll the town and just go in and out of the gift shops, the little kitschy things, especially on day 10. I'm hearing from a lot of people, I didn't buy anything for my granddaughter yet. You know, everybody's getting into that hunt for things to give. But then I'll also have people talk to me before the tour and say, I love churches. Can you find me any cool churches to tour in the various on your own time? Or, you know, I love ceramics. Are there ceramic things we can find? So a lot of the on your own time is in case you have something that is to your liking or some site that you read about that you wanted to make sure that you included.
Okay, so you got one last full day, it sounds like, at this point.
We're wrapping it up.
Crazy.
We head to Arrowtown, and we have a little bit of time for everybody to stretch, walk around, see the little cute town. And again, we divide into two groups here. One group is the e-bikers that head along the river. And again, the nice thing here, I encourage everybody to e-bike if you haven't done it before. My theory is if I can e-bike, anybody can e-bike. So the e-bikes, they took quite a long ride. We went along the river, over a suspension bridge, got to see a lot. At some points, I wasn't sure that it wasn't a bit too much. But again, I'm not a regular biker, but others loved it. And that e-bike, it's not the same as the e-bikes that I did in Portugal. You can't opt to be 100% electric. But we have our 2 adventure guides. We've got 2 bike guides. So there's plenty of people to help you along the way, cheer you along the way. There are definitely, as you start going, you break off into faster and slower groups. If you are not into e-biking, you can stay, and there's a historical museum that they will buy you entrance for. Take a walk through the museum. They had some really interesting things there. And, you could spend a little bit more time in town, get a little coffee. We're in the middle of nowhere, so while there is a coffee shop, if you're looking for Starbucks, you are out of luck.
Yeah, not so much.
Both groups come together at this place known as the Bungee Bridge. We meet up. The bikers, that's the end of their bike route, and the bike company picks up the bike there. Those that stay for the museum, the motor coach drives you to the Bungee Bridge, which is named that because people are bungee jumping off of it,
Of course they
landing
are. Of course they are.
down below, getting picked up by the rescue bikes. And I have to say, and maybe it's because I'm not an athletic person, once they finished jumping, what astounded me is they then had to walk up about 200 wooden stairs that were built into the side of this cliff to get back.
Sure.
I don't know that if I just went through all that adrenaline, I would have it in me, but
You're probably just so happy that your feet are on land. It's what it is at that point.
I guess. At that point, we all board the motor coach. We make a stop literally just down the road. It's maybe a 5-minute ride at the Gibston Valley Winery, where we have lunch. We've got a private room for our lunch. We get some wine. When we are done, they actually built their own cave. They were giving us the story of how they had their cave blasted into the side of the mountain. And so after lunch, we head into this cave. We do some wine tasting. Neat little location to really get to see.
Yeah.
They, of course, have a wonderful gift shop where you can buy some cheese and some wine-infused chocolates if you're still on the hunt for a souvenir or something for yourself.
Nice.
We head back to the hotel. We get a few minutes to relax and get ready for our final evening dinner. And again, well, some of our dinners on arrival into town can be a little bit more simplistic, maybe just in the hotel. Many are not, and the final evening is no exception. We board the TSS Earnslaw, which I was able to actually watch from my window in the hotel. It is a vintage steamer ship.
Oh.
And so it was a lot of fun. We boarded the ship. We've got tables in a private area for our group. Just, again, that opportunity to relax as we're headed down the river. And it takes us to the Walter Peak Station, which is a family-run farm. The only way to get there is, as a tourist, taking this boat over. We then had, while there were other people on our large boat, there was a private tour for all of the adventurers, and we learned how they use their dogs for sheep herding and the massive property they have and all that they do there, and all about this incredible family business.
Sure.
We head over to their main building where they have an incredible buffet. There could be nothing that you want that isn't included. Including at the end, there is a candy bar with about 18 different kinds of candy you could have. And that is the part of our trip that I always love and dread at the same time. On our final night is always a video presentation of our week. And one of the things with Adventures by Disney is they kind of have that built-in photo pass. You don't pay for it. It's part of your trip. Your adventure guides are taking pictures all week long. Some are, let's take pictures. Is there a couple, this couple here, this family here,
Sure.
our whole adventurer group. But they're also taking some action shots that you don't know about, some scenic shots, things that you may or may not have seen. And that last night, where, again, it feels like you've been gone somewhere between 3 days and 3 months. You're not sure how you've been gone this long, but it also felt like it flew by.
Right.
They start back at day 1 and you're like, oh my gosh, that was this trip?
Yep. Yep.
And you get that scenic tour of everything we've done.
That's cool.
And you relive those phenomenal memories.
Well,
we head back on that ship, back towards town as the sun is setting. What a gorgeous way to end any evening or any trip. And sadly, many leave the next morning. Flights to the US can be early. One of the downsides, if you have to find one, to Adventures by Disney is when you're doing a land tour, they're always going to start in the popular destination and end in the least popular destination. And it's not necessarily least popular, it's harder to get to, is what I should say.
Sure.
So on my trip there, I went Newark to LAX, LAX to Auckland. As I mentioned, we took a plane and drove lots and lots to get there. So leaving was quite the journey. I went from Queenstown to Auckland, Auckland to LA, LA to Newark. Yeah. 3 flights. By the time I got back, I wasn't sure I ever wanted to get on a plane again.
Which is problematic for you.
48 hours later.
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't work for you.
I do, because when I do Adventures by Disney with a group, well, I love the travel and the opportunities. It is a lot of work for me. I do some concierge service for the guests I'm with, and I'm still working and answering emails while I'm there. So I like to extend my trips by a day. If you are extending your trip, or if you are looking for something on your own time on the last day, I can't say enough about the onsen spa. If you've listened to the shows, you know there's nothing quite like a good spa. These are hot soaking tubs, private tubs in a private room with a view out into the mountains where you can have a snack, you can have a cocktail. It is just the perfect way to end so many steps and wrap up a wonderful vacation. And
that's unbelievable. I mean, the whole thing is unbelievable. I before we say goodbye to it, we literally spent many shows now describing this experience, and it's probably, out of the shows that we've done, it's probably the quietest I've been out of 3 shows, because there's just so much for you to share and for me to take in, and I hope the audience experienced the same thing, because it's just it's almost an otherworldly experience, because it's so far away and so outstanding. So before we actually completely end talking about this experience, what do you want to leave the audience with?
I think, again, this was a phenomenal destination. One of the things that I always like best when I do a big trip like this, and I readily admit it's what makes me what I call travel spoiled, I always have a next trip, and I love that fact that I know where I'm going next. And if you've listened to the shows or you've talked to me, you will know that I love traveling with our Adventures by Disney guides. I have done so many different destinations, and there isn't one where I've come back and thought, wow, that wasn't worth it. Wow, I didn't have a good time. They all left me with that, wow, how amazing, and how can I share this with others, and what can I take away, because the memories from them all are phenomenal. So I'm always busy planning the next spot I want to be, whether it's off that real bucket list I have or something else comes along. I can't encourage you all enough. Take the time and travel. Do it when you can take your kids, and you can do it as a family, and you can make those memories. Do it as a couple. The average age on my trip, I would have to go back and actually do the math, but it was, I would say, in the 60s. So while you can, I don't care if you're 60, if you're 70, we had people in their high 70s. Do it, enjoy it, make the memories. It's so worth it.
Thank you so much for sharing this experience with all of us. And I cannot, we say it every week, but I cannot recommend it enough. Reach out to the travel specialists over at EasyDiz, because this is an experience that you put together for many people. And so there's no one more qualified to do it. You've shared the experience with us, and I appreciate it. Have a great week.
You too.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week, and as always, keep making memories.